Hey guys, Tomboy61, and today we're taking a look at this right here, the Hue Sync Box. When it came out, it kind of had a bad rap. $230 for a switcher that changed your lights, and it didn't even support HDR. Well, it's gotten a couple of key updates that I think warrant giving it a second look, so that's what we're going to do today. So, what is it? Well, it's an HDMI switcher box that has a really cool trick up its sleeve. It's able to analyze any incoming video and sync your Hue lights up to the video to give you a really cool 4D kind of immersive experience within the thing. I really do believe it is one of the coolest things you can purchase for any Hue lights. It does bring a whole new layer to watching movies. I do truly believe it is one of the coolest products out there. It just depends on if it's worth the $230 price tag. So as previously stated, it didn't support HDR when it launched. It also didn't support a wide variety of features like voice assistants or IR remotes, and they have really done a good job of updating it. On May 28th, they did do a significant patch to it, adding Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus support, which are the two major HDR formats that a lot of TVs read. They also added integration for Alexa and the Google Assistant, as well as Siri, but through the Shortcuts app. So it's not full support with Apple's digital assistant, but it is kind of there. And also they added support for universal remotes through its IR reader. So let's go ahead and take a look at the actual physical box down here. It is rather small, like I can almost cover the whole thing with my hand. On the back of it, you have 4 HDMI slots. Those are going to be your inputs. And then you have the output. Next to it is a USB slot and the power for the system. The USB slot is kind of interesting. The idea being that if you have a TV that can't tell the box that it's going on and off, you're able to plug the USB in, and then through the TV providing or not providing USB power, the box is able to go, oh, the TV's on, I should turn on, or oh, the TV's off, I'm turning off now. That's kind of an interesting feature and a clever workaround. The USB is not enough power. It needs power. It's processing images to change lights certain colors. It needs a good chunk of power. It can't run off of your TV's USB, but that's there. On the front of the device, two very basic things. First is that IR receiver. It's also a button, so when you do things like sync it with your Hue bridge, that's the big button you're going to use. And then there's a status indicator, little LED on the front right there. And that's the whole box right there. So let's move on to setup. So setup is relatively simple. The first part of it is pretty much just like adding any other sort of light or accessory to the Hue system. You are going to have to download a separate app called the Hue Sync app. This is so that, we're not really weighing down the regular Hue app with this app with all of its features. I like the idea of it being separated just because the vast majority of Hue light bulb owners may not purchase this, and to weigh down that app with the features that this app needs, I think it would just generate more confusion than necessary. And it's way easier to say, hey, you bought this special accessory, we're going to have to ask you to use this special thing over here. And it's really not that hard. It feels very much like you're using the other Hue app. If you're familiar with that Hue app, you'll get familiar with this Hue app. Once you download it and get it set up, you'll have to set up what's called an entertainment area. Entertainment areas are basically a 3D-ish map of your living room or your setup. For me, I found a deal with 3 Hue play lights, and then I also have 3 regular Hue bulbs in my living room, so I was able to add those. Basically, you drag them around in 3D space, and you indicate how tall they are, whether they're floor lights, they're at the level of the TV, or the ceiling height. One interesting thing that I was concerned about during setup is the back wall of where my TV is red. It's my accent wall in the room, and I was concerned whether the light would shine very well, if it would look very good with a red accent light, with a red wall behind it, or if that would end up making things look a little weird. It does turn out looking fine. Green is a little bit harder to see, but I did kind of counter that. One of my lights I put at 45 degrees on the TV stand just to kind of hit the wall that's off to the side. And I have another light bulb that's all the way in the corner on the other side that isn't on a red wall that kind of supplements for it, and it makes it all feel good. Once the entertainment area is set up, you'll then have access to 3 main presets that you'll use for pretty much everything. It's video, music, and game. Music is interesting because instead of analyzing the picture, it analyzes the music, the beat, and that's what it uses to change the lights. You have video and game, and I kind of use these as 2 distinct presets. If I want a lot of action, I kind of have game there, and I have everything turned up to the max, high intensity, max brightness, and that's my go crazy kind of preset. And then you're watching a movie and you don't want when the people are outside to have the whole living room lit up. That's the video setting that I use. I have it on a medium amount of intensity and a relatively lower brightness, and those are the settings I really like for those, and it makes it convenient to be able to switch between those 2 presets. Once you get all of that set up, you can then also go ahead and add those voice assistants for Alexa. It's a relatively simple process. I think the default commands overall are a little rough. You do have to say, use Hue Sync Box to do this, use Hue Sync Box to do that. What I found that I ended up doing is going back in and using routines, because everything that you can tell the Hue Sync Box to do, you can set up passphrases in your routines to just kind of do. So I have several routines set up so that if I want to watch a movie, I just say, let's watch a movie, and it turns the system on. It changes your HDMI switch outs over. Oh yeah, that's one of the other key things. This is also an HDMI switcher, which is really convenient. As soon as you turn on a device and input, it will feed right on over into that input, which is really nice. You can also then, with the voice assistants, use your voice to be able to switch it. But once again, the initial command words, the command line is very awkward because you have to be like, use Hue Sync Box to change to input 4, which kind of feels robotic and doesn't feel like the future. And the point of a smart house is to make you feel like you're living in the future. So what I ended up doing was going back and just adding routines with more natural language, and then hiding what the actual physical commands were under that, and it makes it feel so much smoother. So yeah, this is, I guess, the final thoughts part. And after the update, I think the Hue Sync Box is a much more interesting value proposition. It's still very expensive, and I understand why it has to be. So minimum, if you were to buy everything, which I think you would deem essential, I would say 3 play lights, the actual box, and you do need a bridge. If you don't have a bridge already, if you're not in the Hue ecosystem, it gets expensive. It's nearly $500. I think it's like $494 plus tax. If you got everything at MSRP to do this kind of setup. But I think now that we are a little bit past its release date, we are going to start seeing sales. I ended up getting everything for less than $300. The Hue play bars I was able to find at Costco. They've had on and off sales for 3 of them for $150. Usually they sell 2 for $129 and a third for $60. So that saved a good chunk of money. And I think if Costco is going to roll that out, I'd expect the big box stores, Best Buy, to kind of have that sale during Black Friday, or maybe coming soon, or maybe Amazon when we get Prime Day, whenever that is. I think that's one deal that you'll want to kind of take a look at. The other thing is, a lot of people, the early adopter tax already happened kind of for the Hue box. I bought mine used. I picked mine up for $185 on eBay, which is a significant, it's 50 something dollars saved, and you can't turn your nose down at that. You're starting to see the people who got it first wave didn't like it, who didn't really invest in it, or didn't want to update it. Like, they didn't realize those updates came out. And those ones have now started to show up on eBay for $50 under, which I think is at 180 to 150, like 180 to 200, I think is a better price for this. Now, you may be saying that's a lot of money because you can do it for free. That's right. Hue Sync is an application you can run for free on a home PC. But you kind of would want it in this case to be a media PC, and I don't know how many people are kind of running those. Like, if you're into this, there is a threshold where you go from your standard electronics to running a media PC, but there's a barrier of entry. There's the girlfriend slash spouse tax of like, are they going to want to move from a very relatively easy Apple TV over to having to use a media PC to view things? Like, there's a complication there that this removes, and I think that's why it's a premium tax, because those who are wanting it, if they're smart enough to want it and know what it is and be in this ecosystem, they're smart enough to use a media PC. But then they don't really need this, but there's people who don't want to run a media PC, and that's who this is for. So it's a niche of a niche that wants this device and who will find use in this device, and that's why I think it is such a high price, because there's not many people who want to buy it, but I think it's 100% worth it. If you can find them used and at a decent price, I think this is where you kind of want to be. It feels great. It's excellent. The look, it just adds so much. We were watching, the first thing we watched on it was the fireworks. Both my girlfriend and I work at Disney, and we kind of missed the fireworks because we haven't heard them in so long. So the first thing we watched in here was Magic Kingdom's fireworks, and it was great. It didn't feel like being there, but it felt way closer than just watching a YouTube video should. And then, because of the dystopian crisis we're kind of living in, we then watched the Hunger Games later, and even that felt interesting. They use a lot of backlighting in that, and a lot of bright lighting. And whenever you have a bright light source off screen, it lightens the room in a way that makes it feel intense, and it made it feel more appropriate for that movie. And it's just a unique experience. It's really cool. It's one, really cool just to show off, but two, it's a really cool way to watch a movie and to experience film in a slightly different way. And I 100% recommend it. Yeah. So that's the Hue Sync Box, guys. If you're interested, I will have links down below. They are affiliate links, so if you buy it, it does support the channel. If you like this video, go ahead, hit the like button down below. Or if you like the video, hit the like button down below. Hit the subscribe button. This is my first kind of Hue/smart home review. What do you guys think? I think the next one, we have a drone. We got sent a drone to check out. So we're going to check out a drone. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. See ya.